Some people aren't exhausted because life is too demanding. They're exhausted because they're carrying a personality that never fully belonged to them. There are people who don't know what they actually feel until they're alone. People who leave conversations and wonder why they sounded different with different people. People who secretly wonder which version of themselves is the real one. It feels like constant monitoring, like editing yourself in real time, watching your words, watching your reactions, adjusting tone before anyone even notices you've done it. And after a while, what shows up isn't tiredness from doing too much. It's something closer to self-awareness fatigue. That's not dishonesty, it's an intelligent adaptation. If belonging feels uncertain, becoming who other people need can feel safer than finding out who you are. But here's the strange part. The better someone becomes at maintaining versions of themselves, the harder it becomes to know whether their loneliness comes from being unseen or from never actually being there. What I just described usually isn't obvious from the outside. In fact, people carrying this pattern often appear adaptable, thoughtful, emotionally intelligent, and easy to be around. Most people don't experience them as fake. They experience them as kind, reliable, pleasant, and that's part of what makes the pattern so invisible. Externally, everything looks normal. Internally, something feels strangely absent. There's a type of person who walks into a room and immediately starts reading it, not consciously, just automatically. They're comfortable with almost anyone because they've spent years becoming whatever keeps the harmony. Easygoing, flexible, low maintenance. They know what to say, how to make people comfortable, and how to avoid awkwardness before it starts. But when someone asks them what they want, there's a pause. Not because they're hiding it, because nothing comes immediately. They're used to tracking everyone else's experience before checking in with their own. Sometimes they leave social situations feeling strangely empty, not because they disliked anyone, not because anything went wrong, just tired, as if they'd spent the entire time making tiny adjustments to themselves that nobody else could see. And sometimes they lie awake replaying conversations, not because they said something wrong, but because they're trying to figure out which parts of them were genuine and which parts were assembled in the moment. Not because they're secretive, not because they're deceptive, because avoiding tension and being liked became easier than becoming visible. The mind is remarkably practical. It pays attention to what works. If certain emotions, opinions, needs, or parts of the personality seem risky, inefficient, or disruptive, those parts don't necessarily disappear. They simply move into the background. Meanwhile, the parts that create connection become stronger. The agreeable parts, the helpful parts, the composed parts. Over time, this creates an unusual split. The person doesn't feel like they're pretending because the adaptation becomes automatic. They're not consciously acting. They're operating through the version of themselves that's been rewarded the most. And eventually, the performance stops feeling like a performance. It starts feeling like reality, even when something inside quietly feels missing. Here's the strange paradox. The thing they wanted most was connection. But connection only works when something real is present, which means the more skilled someone becomes at protecting themselves through adaptation, the more they may receive love, appreciation, admiration, and still feel unseen. Not because people failed them, but because people can only connect with what they're given access to. As Carl Jung observed, loneliness often comes from the existence of parts of ourselves that feel inadmissible. And that's the painful contradiction. Someone can spend years becoming lovable and still wonder why love doesn't feel nourishing. They can become indispensable and still feel invisible. Deeply appreciated in their roles, friend, partner, caretaker, peacemaker, professional, and still have moments where they wonder whether anyone would stay if they stopped performing all of it, which creates another loop. Authenticity starts feeling dangerous. Not because it's actually dangerous, but because giving people the real version means losing control over how their will be received. And uncertainty feels heavier than exhaustion. So the adaptation stays, not because it's enjoyable, not because it's false, because predictability often feels safer than discovery. Eventually, people begin searching for themselves through hobbies, spirituality, relationships, careers, self-help, even healing, without realizing they're searching for someone who was never lost, only interrupted. Most people think identity is something fixed, something you either have or you don't, but maybe it isn't gone, maybe it's simply waiting, underneath the version that remembers everyone's coffee order, the version that knows exactly when to soften a room, the version that never once said, "Actually, I disagree," because it costs too much to find out what would happen if they did. The mind can become remarkably skilled at maintaining whatever helped it belong to the group. But belonging and being known are not the same experience. And sometimes the deepest exhaustion isn't the exhaustion of doing too much. It's the exhaustion of carrying a version of yourself that's worked so well, you've forgotten what it feels like to set it down. Because some masks are so successful, they stop feeling like masks. And that's what makes them so heavy.